Um, someone, and I want to look at the people at home, um, because someone sent me this wonderful calendar for, I don't know, around the holidays, and it's all sayings of Dogen, one that one famous saying of Dogen for each month, and I loved it, but it was an anonymous gift, so I know it's from one of you. Um, so I'm gonna say how much I appreciated the anonymous gift, and I hope you tell me who you are sometime when you feel ready, so I can thank you for the gift. So for the month of January, we have this saying: if you open your hand, you might receive everything. And we are gonna comment on these famous sayings of Dogen, and then we discuss them as a group. You know, when I opened the calendar and I read this, if you open your hand, you might receive everything. The first thing that comes to me is like, when I'm closed down, I cannot receive. No? So receiving is a state of being opened. If we are closed, nothing can enter. So it's a state of being open. And then when I got to the part of, if you open your hand, if I open my hand, I might receive something to my hand. But if I open my whole body, my whole heart, my whole mind, my whole legs, belly, feet, everything to the universe, then we are in a state of receiving. And so it's connected also with the state of not knowing. It's a state of connection and it's a state of receiving. And we have a famous koan from Master Hakuin, who came later, and I was wondering if he got inspired by his famous koan of what was the sound of one hand, from this saying of Dogen, because here, if you open your hand, the hand here is symbolic for the whole body. If you open yourself, you know, it's like when we say, or I don't think we say that anymore. But when I was as a student, couple of Roshis always used to say, listen with your feet, listen with your eyes, listen with your hands, but not with your ears, because what he meant is like transcend the mind that is criticizing and judging everything. Open yourself, allow the Dharma to enter, and what's supposed to touch you in that state will touch you, and what you don't need, it will go. So then I have my Roshi next to me that was gonna comment on this, and then my Dharma brother, my great Dharma brother. I could not do this without him, and Tetsuo. So I'm so grateful to have my Dharma siblings. I'm gonna comment on this, and then we'll have a discussion with the first. Then maybe in February we do the February saying. No, I'm joking.
But well, there's 12 months in the calendar, so there's 12 different quotes. But this is the one from January. We'll just talk about that today. How much can you say about if you open your hand, you may receive everything? It's very simple. It's like that Zen story where a scholar had gone to see the Zen master and they're having tea, and the Zen master was pouring the tea, and he filled up the cup of the scholar and he just kept pouring. It was overflowing, and the scholar said that you're overflowing the teacup. You can't put any more tea in there. And Zen master said, well, you're just like that. Your mind is so full. of thoughts and ideas that there's no room for anything else to enter. Yeah. And then there's also another, I'm talking about hands. There's a famous story about how they capture monkeys in India. Maybe you've heard this one too. But they take a coconut, cut a hole in it that's just big enough for the monkey to put its hand in, and they put something attractive in there, shiny or food. And but if the monkey grabs it, then the fist can't come out of the hole, so it's trapped. But all it has to do is release, and then everything is open to it. It can escape. You know, but because the hand is closed, it's trapped. And I've read that it's a very effective monkey trap. That monkeys would rather hold on to their shiny object or piece of food than let go and escape. Maybe in a panic they might, but at least I read it's very effective. But I think that it's also a very effective trap for humans. I mean, it's not just shiny objects and food, but we have so many ideas that we hold on to. And the biggest idea is the idea of who we are. We have fixed ideas about that. And we have a koan called Who Am I? And I forget who said it, but it was one teacher said that the question, who am I, is not necessarily to answer the question, but to dissolve the questioner. Okay. So the one who's asking the question to dissolve. And that's what this is saying here. How do we dissolve all of our fixed notions about who we are and really be free? So that's the core meaning of this phrase of Dogen's. So, and we asked Yugen if he wanted to comment too.
Yeah, thanks for
Maybe
sharing.
you could take
I was so taken with these. I had the opportunity here this morning to see these 12 different these monthly things to reflect on, which I know in time will be covered as well in this format. It sounds like, but that first one, if you open your hand, you may receive everything. Remember reading the book by, and of course based on this, but Ushyama Roshi, and it was called, like, I believe, Opening the Hand of Thought. Opening the Hand of Thought. And when I read that, and it just evoked something very powerful. I've noticed with a lot of these type of insights and beautiful sharings of Dogen that he offers up. I know that at times I can get involved in some analysis of this, but as the Roshis were pointing to here, sometimes, much like reading a poem, it doesn't help me particularly to analyze the poem. I can just receive the poem. And I think metaphorically here and literally as well, just being able to receive this offering in real life that, Izumi Roshi talked about, wrote a book, appreciate your life. Just that appreciation, not particularly overcomplicating it like I'm doing now, even just appreciating it. And this idea too, I wanted to share something because when Roshis Shinko this morning was talking about what we were going to be doing prior to this, to our being here in this moment. I was reminded when I looked at this, if you open your hand, you may receive everything. And I'm reminded of a koan that made an impression on me, certainly. And I wanted to read just a note because all these things in our practice seem to fit together so congruently, so beautifully at times. They just really pop sometimes, and have a have just a feeling that in my heart that really resonates with some quotes and with many koans. And I might add that some koans didn't resonate and don't resonate with me as much, but boy, many certainly have and really have a bit of impact in my life. But this is the commentary um, from the book that Roshi did the commentaries on in the Book of Equanimity. And this is a commentary in the book that I just happened to be reading recently, and it just struck me of how for me it related so much to the Dogen quote: "If you open your hand, you may receive everything." And the writing from Roshi, he writes this quote. Shishin Roshi did this, and it's related to the koan that I won't share at this time, the Book of Equanimity, number 23. But if you want to, you can certainly look it up. But it says, if you can directly face the pain in your life, that is the joy in your life. If you don't face the pain of your life, that is the pain of your life. That is the pain of your life. And I thought, this idea, if, as the Roshis alluded to earlier, if you go around with a closed heart, a closed hand, and you can't receive everything, that can, in my life, that's time of pain and suffering. And when I'm able to open up more and more to even dark areas of my life, things that I don't feel particularly good about, as well as the things that I feel very, very good about, enjoyable. But the whole enchilada, being able to really open up, and that title of that book always comes back to me again and again, which of course this is the basis for that. But this idea of, opening the hand of thought, and I love that metaphor about, pouring the tea and there's no more room in the teacup because the thoughts are already there. No more room in the heart and the mind. So I don't know. I don't want to talk about this anymore. I want to hear about what other folks have to say. But and the final thing I'll just say is, that I remember I watched. Most of you are way too young to remember this, but there was a television show called Ben Casey. He was a neurosurgeon, dealt with people that were real sick, and he had a patient that didn't want any anesthesia, and he was a student of Zen, he said, of meditation. And so the mantra that he focused in on was, what is the sound? What is the sound of one hand? And we don't. That's not really the way we work with this koan. Excuse me. What is the sound of one hand clapping? Yeah. That's what it was in the Ben Casey show. And so I remember that was, I guess, probably my first introduction to anything about Zen. And then later learned the Hakuin's take was, what is the sound of one hand? And that's pretty different. Sound of one hand, the sound of one hand clapping. But anyway, all that just was going through my mind.
And did that help with the surgery and the anesthesia?
Well, yeah, he actually made it through the surgery absolutely well. Of course, in Ben Casey, he's a pretty good neurosurgeon, so he did things pretty well. But yeah, it did make it through. But the interesting thing was, I didn't share, was this boy that was having this surgery who had this kind of a Zen teacher, coincidentally, in the room that he shared in the hospital. This the guy was like a professor or something of philosophy, and he had shared this with the boy, and then the professor went to have neurosurgery too, and he had charmed this young boy and got him excited about trying to use this technique of the sound of one hand. But then when the teacher had the surgery, he couldn't do it, and he had to ask for the anesthesia. And so then the boy was kind of like it, passed by this. Anyway, Hollywood, right?